Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Love ya. Caleb here. I'm going to be reacting to typical things about Norway. Apparently this girl's from Portugal.
Of my experience. If you're Norwegian, I hope you're not offended by anything I'm going to say, just because it's just my opinion and I'm going to talk in general. So this
I'm offended!
is just in general and based on my experience, okay? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the weather. So for me this was a big change since I'm from Portugal, and when I came here it was December, and in Portugal it was like 19 or 18 degrees, and here it was minus 19. It was super cold, everything was full of snow, and it was really dark. In Norway, in the winter you have more or less 2 months that you have almost no sun, and then in the summer you have sun until midnight, and that's pretty cool, right? So you probably heard about the midnight sun that you can watch here in Norway. It's really nice because you can go out and you can do like picnics and barbecues during the night, and it's still light. Another
That sounds fun. Do people do that during the night?
thing that most people don't realize is that in Norway they also have a pretty nice summer. They have nice like beaches where you can swim in the fjords, and the water is pretty warm actually. When it's sun here in Norway, everyone is out. Like everyone is in the city park like sunbathing. Of course they don't have very high temperatures in summer. I guess it goes to 25 degrees in general. Now, in the winter, it's also a great time to visit Norway because it's full of snow and winter sports. I'm not a big expert in this subject since I don't know how to ski, but they have really cool like winter sports and snow sports like sledge, ski and snowboard.
Sled. I speak Portuguese too, and that's one thing that the D, a lot of time they pronounce as a J, so sledge, as opposed to sled.
The Norwegians have this sound of communication that it's like when they agree or just to express a feeling, but normally when they agree with something, they do this noise. When someone...
Isn't that like everywhere? Everywhere, everybody goes like, mm-hmm. That's pretty universal.
is talking and you are listening and you are agreeing with that person, you just go along and it's also very addictive. You just make it also, and then you realize, oh no, I'm making the sound also. Another thing they do is when they arrive home, they always take their shoes. So you have this little place at the entrance where you can put your shoes, and then they walk barefoot or with their slippers inside the house. They also have...
Yeah, that the Norwegian girl I watched said that too. Again, it's like person to person in America. And I'd say in terms of like the weather and temperature and climate and how things look, it makes sense that there's so many Norwegians that settled in my state of Wisconsin, because honestly that all looks like it could be Wisconsin. It's almost the same. The only difference is that we have more extreme temperatures, so I think it gets colder here, and also it gets much hotter during the summer. It definitely goes over 25. We use Fahrenheit, but it's over 100 degrees here, which is, I believe, more like 40-ish in Celsius. I forgot. That's rare, but it does happen. We'll have days where it's like a negative 35 Celsius. Again, that's very rare, but it does happen.
Have this thing where in the winter it's super cold outside, so imagine like minus 15, and then you enter someplace, any place, and it's super hot. So you have this kind of hair dryer sensation. Then you enter the restaurant, it's like and you are dressed with all of these layers because it's so cold outside, and you have to start taking all the
Yeah, I know that all too well. Not fun.
layers off, and you get dressed like you are in summer. There's one thing that exists here that I guess it also exists in other countries, but for example in Portugal I have never seen it before, and that is the machine where you can change your empty bottles or empty cans for money here in Norway.
Watching these things, I feel like when I go to Norway, nothing's going to be a surprise. I'm going to be like, oh, is this... I don't know, I guess it's still fun to see in person, you know, even if you see like the Colosseum. It's not really comparable, a Colosseum, to a bottle machine.
Norway, you cannot buy alcohol in the supermarket after a certain hour. I think it's after 6 or 7, I'm not sure. You see that Norwegians have this thing where they get...
Same thing in my state. After 9 o'clock in my state, you can't buy alcohol in a grocery store.
Really drunk really fast, and they get crazy. So I guess this is just a precaution. The Norwegians in general are very shy and very closed. They don't talk like a lot, they are not very expressive, and it takes a long time to be friends, like really friends with a Norwegian, but then when you get to that point, you have a friend forever, so that's good. Most of Norwegians also do this thing where if you are in a big party and a Norwegian wants...
That's one thing I question is like how true that is. You have a friend forever? I mean, I think sometimes people want to say like this, but this. So I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, but is it really like once you're friends and you're really good? I don't know, maybe it is.
Wants to leave. We call it like the ninja bomb, you know, when the ninjas like just threw away a fog bomb and disappear in the fog. For example, if we are in a party and then we look around and we're like, oh, where's Johan? Where did he go? You never know, because they don't say goodbye or they don't say anything really, they just disappear. Also, typical things about Norwegians.
That's interesting. I don't really have a problem with that. I think it's pretty much fine. Yeah, that's interesting.
Is that they are very careful with critics. They are very afraid to talk to you in a bad way.
Critiques?
So in school, for example, I'm in architecture. The critics are always very carefully said. Sometimes I just want to ask them, like, just say it. Just you say it. I'm a big girl. I can.
Haha. Brazilians are kind of like that too. I think there's quite a few cultures like that. Yeah, I definitely like more straightforward types of thing. But at the same time, I do really appreciate trying to be gentle. Say what you need to say, but don't skirt around it. Don't say part of what you need to say. Don't say sort of what you need to say. Say what you need to say, just put it in a nice way. That's what I think about it.
Handle it. One of the things that is really common here in Norway, it's an object that actually Norwegians invented, and it's
The
a...
cheese slicer. Oh no, stop bringing this up. Oh my gosh. Okay, I made the cheese slicer. That's great. Actually, my state, Wisconsin, is known for cheese.
cheese slicer. So it's just a thing that you use to cut your cheese in slices. And it's actually super useful. And of course they have brunost, that is brown cheese. And it's this brown cheese that is very sweet. And it's actually really good. Another
Sweet?
super typical thing in Norway. And this is...
Sweet? I don't need a lot of cheese. But if you look up cheese head, you'll see people wearing hats of cheese from my state. That's how crazy they are about cheese in my state.
It's not very normal for me. It's that their lunch, like normally and mainly lunch, it's a slice of bread. I think it's called matpakke, but I'm not sure. If there's any Norwegian out there, just tell me. But it's a slice of bread where you put whatever you like on top and then you eat it like this. Just a slice of bread with, like, for example, cheese, egg, and salad on top, and that's your lunch. I'm getting used to it. Another super typical thing that I'm sure you've heard about is the Northern Lights, and they happen in a specific time of the year. I guess they start in November, and it keeps going until March, I guess. You should see it at least once in your life. You should, because it's amazing. It's incredible. As you may know, Norway only has about...
I really want to see the Northern Lights.
5 million people, but it's really, really big. It's really long. So
I think that's about how many people there are in my state of Wisconsin again.
if you want to travel, for example, from Oslo, that it's in the south, to a little bit less, like underneath the middle, it's just like 7 hours. And all of the big cities are very scattered around Norway, so if you do want to travel and get to know Norway, you need a long time or you need a lot of money.
I guess for her, going from Portugal, that seems like a long time, but for America, it's not.
To spend on flights to get around, because it's just crazy. And also if you rent a car and you try to drive around Norway, it's also crazy because the roads are not that good. They have like
That's surprising.
what they called a highway. It's not really a highway at all. It's just a normal road, and it goes
That's kind of funny.
through like tunnels, a lot of tunnels and bridges. Sometimes you get in a tunnel like 20 minutes after you leave the tunnel, and then you are in a bridge, and then you get again in another tunnel. So
Wow.
It's just crazy. Another thing super common here, it's having a cabin in the forest, like near a lake. And then you have this thing you call like hyttetur, where you go on a cabin trip with your family or with your friends.
This is kind of like the wealthy people in my state have this. My state has the most lakes, actually. Sorry for bringing my state up so much. It's supposed to be about Norway, but anyway. A decent amount of people have lake houses or cabins.
And just go to the middle of nowhere with no water or electricity in the most cases. Like for example, once I went to a cabin with some friends and the lake was frozen. We didn't have water in our cabin, so we went to the lake, get some ice and melted the ice, so we had water to cook. You get a very nice experience because you are far away from everything, you don't have internet, and you get to really enjoy the time with your friends and
Sounds nice.
make cool games and cook and all of these great things. And that's everything for now. I'm sure there were a lot of things still that I could tell you and more typical things about Norway. I just tried to share a little bit of the things that are more close to me or more like into my life.
Yeah,
and tell me in the comments below some of the most typical things.
Tell me in the comments below. No, but that was pretty nice. I think it's good to hear. I had watched a Norwegian woman talk about stuff about Norway. It's good to hear outside perspective because a lot of times what people think is like normal to them, someone from some elsewhere will pick up on as being different. I'm kind of running out of things to find out about Norway. I think it's just not so radically different of a society. As far as I can tell, I've still never been. I think the biggest thing is that the country is just much better run. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you would like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Have a good one. Later.